The Lucy Show. Lucy, as always played with unstoppable energy and impeccable comedic timing by Lucille Ball, finds herself caught in yet another situation where her curiosity, overconfidence, and desire to help inevitably collide into chaos. And it all begins when Lucy overhears a conversation at the bank about a new promotion for an upcoming office event, and she immediately interprets it as a chance to prove her competence and finally earn Mr. Mooney's admiration. But true to form, she doesn't take the time to clarify any details or understand exactly what is required, instead leaping headfirst into action with full conviction that she knows exactly what needs to be done. And from the very first moment, her excitement sets the stage for a series of escalating mishaps because she volunteers for tasks nobody asked her to handle, reorganizes schedules based on her own logic rather than the existing plan, and begins issuing instructions to co-workers who are both confused and apprehensive about Lucy's sudden authority. Yet, despite the subtle warnings from Mary Jane and the barely concealed skepticism from the bank staff, Lucy remains undeterred, confidently asserting that her approach will be faster, better, and more efficient. And as she dives deeper into the preparations, her well-intentioned meddling starts to ripple outward, causing small misalignments in scheduling to multiply, items being misplaced, and instructions being misunderstood, creating a growing web of confusion that spreads across the office like wildfire. And the physical comedy ramps up as Lucy flits from one task to another, hiding documents, redirecting people mid-conversation, improvising solutions on the fly, and narrowly avoiding direct confrontations with Mr. Mooney, all while maintaining a confident front that everything is proceeding exactly according to her plan. And the audience can see the perfect storm building as every new improvisation introduces additional complications, with co-workers exchanging bewildered glances, Mary Jane nervously trying to intervene, and minor mishaps escalating into larger problems that threaten to derail the entire event. And yet Lucy remains blissfully unaware of the true scale of the chaos she's causing, convinced that with just one more adjustment she can restore order. And as the episode progresses, these multiple layers of misunderstandings collide in increasingly absurd ways, resulting in overlapping comedic incidents where people misinterpret instructions, essential items end up in the wrong places, and Lucy has to perform near acrobatic feats to keep the situation from completely imploding. And the humor is heightened by her rapid-fire explanations, frantic improvisations, and the contrast between her unstoppable optimism and the growing exasperation of everyone around her, especially Mr. Mooney, who observes the unfolding disaster with a mixture of disbelief, frustration, and resigned tolerance, realizing that while Lucy's intentions are never malicious, the outcome is predictably catastrophic. And just when it seems that the event might proceed without total calamity, a minor overlooked detail triggers a cascade of failures, schedules clash, deliveries are misplaced, and last-minute adjustments backfire spectacularly, forcing Lucy into a whirlwind of attempts to repair her own mistakes, often creating new problems faster than she can solve the old ones. And in the midst of this chaos, her ingenuity shines in the most comically ineffective ways as she devises elaborate solutions that solve one problem while simultaneously generating three more. And the episode's pacing keeps the tension high because the audience can follow all of Lucy's maneuvers, laughing at her resourcefulness while also recognizing the inevitable collapse that looms just beyond her line of sight. And the climax arrives in a spectacular collision of timing, miscommunication, and physical comedy as all the individual problems coalesce at once, sending the carefully orchestrated and completely improvised event into utter disarray, with characters tripping over props, misreading instructions, colliding with one another, and Lucy herself in the center of the storm, darting from one disaster to another, attempting impossible feats to salvage the situation while inadvertently worsening it. And even as the chaos peaks, The episode manages to showcase Lucy's charm, determination, and relentless optimism because despite everything, she truly believes she can make things right, and the audience can't help rooting for her, even as they laugh at the absurdity of the spectacle. And eventually, after an exhausting series of mishaps, the event reaches a grudging conclusion, with Mr. Mooney delivering a pointed lecture on the perils of taking initiative without understanding the full scope. Mary Jane quietly shaking her head at Lucy's unstoppable energy, and Lucy herself, ever resilient, briefly acknowledges the scale of the disaster, but only for a moment before a new idea sparks in her mind, setting up the promise of the next comedic adventure. And the episode closes on this perfect note, capturing the timeless spirit of the Lucy Show: chaos, creativity, determination, and laughter intertwined in a single, continuous whirlwind of comedy that leaves the audience both amused and marveling at Lucy's inimitable ability to turn ordinary situations into extraordinary spectacles, all while maintaining hand even after the main chaos of the event has unfolded. Lucy cannot seem to stop herself from trying to fix things further because in her mind, the disaster is never really over until she personally ensures that every last detail is perfect, which, of course, is impossible. So she dives back into the fray, darting between co-workers, reorganizing misplaced items, and frantically attempting to clarify instructions she herself originally confused. And every attempt at correction somehow amplifies the problem rather than solving it, because Lucy is simultaneously attempting to keep everyone calm, prevent Mr. Mooney from discovering her latest blunders, and restore order while also improvising new plans to cover up prior mistakes, creating a perfect storm of physical comedy, verbal tangles, and timing disasters. And as she spins from one area of the office to another, the audience sees a chaotic choreography of mishaps. Stacks of paperwork topple, chairs slide across floors, pens and documents are flung in every direction, and Lucy's frantic energy makes even minor mistakes seem monumental. And as she tries to speak to Mary Jane about the best solution ever, she inadvertently contradicts herself multiple times, forcing Mary Jane to intercept employees who have been misdirected, creating a cascading domino effect where nearly every single bank employee is caught in a temporary state of bewilderment, moving from one failed instruction to the next while Lucy races to save the day, oblivious to the magnitude of her own mismanagement. And the humor is heightened because while Lucy believes she is demonstrating competence, the audience can clearly see that she is, as always, the epicenter of the chaos, and her rapid-fire explanations, frantic gestures, and improvised problem-solving strategies only make the situation more confusing for everyone involved, including Mr. Mooney, who wanders through the office, simultaneously irritated, exhausted, and helplessly fascinated by how one person can create such an elaborate disaster from what should have been a simple task. And this ongoing struggle between Lucy's unstoppable optimism and the growing frustration of those around her drives the episode forward, blending visual gags, clever wordplay, and physical comedy into a seamless flow that never lets the audience look away. And as the climax approaches, Lucy attempts one final heroic maneuver. She decides to simultaneously manage the scheduling, reorganize the office supplies, and personally direct the remaining employees to ensure that the event ends successfully, which predictably results in a spectacular meltdown where every component she touches spins further out of control, employees collide with each other, chairs and files topple over, and Lucy herself is caught in a series of pratfalls and near-miss accidents, all executed with perfect timing and exaggerated expressions, highlighting Lucille Ball's masterful comedic timing and physicality. And in the midst of this chaos, Lucy continues delivering her explanations, defending her actions with such confidence that even the most absurd moments are framed as logical solutions in her mind. And while the office teeters on the brink of total disaster, Mary Jane and the other employees desperately attempt to patch things together, reacting to the absurd instructions while attempting to minimize damage. which adds layers of tension and humor as the contrast between Lucy's oblivious energy and the employee's exasperation reaches its peak. And finally, after a dizzying sequence of physical comedy, miscommunication, and frantic improvisation, the event concludes in a spectacularly imperfect fashion, with the office in partial disarray, but somehow functional enough to declare the event over, and Mr. Mooney delivers his signature lecture on responsibility, preparation, and the dangers of uncontrolled enthusiasm, shaking his head while Lucy listens, wide-eyed and still hopeful that she can somehow spin the disaster into a triumph. And the episode closes with Lucy spotting a new, vaguely promising opportunity in the distance, already formulating a plan that will inevitably lead to the next whirlwind of chaos, leaving the audience with the perfect mix of satisfaction, laughter, and anticipation for the next unavoidable adventure, capturing the essence of the Lucy Show: relentless energy, comedic disaster, and the inimitable charm of Lucy turning ordinary situations into extraordinary comedic spectacles. Unshakable optimism and indomitable spirit, ready to dive headfirst into the next unavoidable disaster that she's about to create.